Hello, so today we're going to be going over a Shapeshifter game again. This is one of the comps I have the most fun with. I don't think this comp is very good. I think it's severely overplayed for what it is. But it's like the only way you can really play around high cost units and have a little bit of fun along the way. So I definitely like it as like a mix up instead of just playing reroll all the time, which I think is what I more heavily lean in a lot of these later patches for the set. But you know, if you like my content and you enjoy these VOD reviews, please make sure to like and subscribe. Without much further ado though, I start out with a Nico. Nico's pretty tanky. My opinion of Nico is kind of starting to change a little bit. I think the buffs, not the patch of today or yesterday, the patch a couple patches ago, was pretty good. Where it buffed Nico a little bit, so that was like 2 patches ago. Since then, I've noticed that like even a 1-star Nico is pretty tanky to just play in your early game as a 3 cost. I also have a Wukong early, so I might play around Jinx. I'm just kind of deciding that. I take Precise Planning. Exiles is good in some comps, and it's not that great in some of the other ones. Especially when you have like you have some diminishing returns, but it's generally the stronger combat. Precise Planning is generally one of the best silvers you can hit. The reason is that you set up your econ really well in your first couple of rounds. The way Precise Planning works is that if you win or lose by 4 or fewer units, you get an extra 2 gold. So I look around, I see that somebody looks like they're angling maybe Jinx. There's a lot of people that are holding Wukongs. So I'm probably going to sell this Wukong to eventually make econ, and I'll just try and play around Shapeshifters for my mid game and then decide what I'm going to play later. I don't have a particularly strong reroll spot right now besides having a Wukong, but like I said, there's 2 other people holding Wukongs. And, you know, I made a video about Jinx Wukong yesterday. I don't know how it is in other servers, but in NA, Jinx Wukong is one of the most popular comps. It's just like I see it all the time. I've read things where it's like in China specifically, like when I was looking at like the regional stats, like leading up to Worlds that's gonna start tomorrow. A lot of like in pro play, they like really don't believe in the line that much, it seems, or like they very rarely play it, and when they do, it performs really poorly. So I'm not quite sure exactly where the meta is on that, or if anything really changed in the last patch or so. About its relative strength. As you can see, I'm just trying to play like as many strong units on my board as possible. Eventually I'll make econ thresholds once I can, so here I'm going to try and make 10, and then with Precise Planning I'm going to try and set myself up for some sort of late game scenario. I'm either going to play around Callista, which is why I'm holding the Lilia on my bench. I'll play around Shapeshifters and Fast 9 if I feel like I have enough HP, or I will play some other 4-cost board if I get an enabling augment. A lot of the 4 costs are tied by having spatulas, so it's a little bit awkward, but that's why I'm not slamming my items right away. I don't really care about win streaking or lose streaking in these couple rounds, so I slammed a belt on one of my units. Wukong's going to be really hard to deal with early game, as well as the Nico, so even with 3 units against a lot of boards, I will be able to beat them. So this guy, for example, he's Spoils of War, and he has a Rumble too. I still end up beating him because that, like Nico and Wukong are just really strong units. They do a decent amount of damage. The stuns, the front line is just really good. I have a really good Shapeshifter spot. I might make myself a little bit weaker here because Wukong is a majority of my damage, so I might end up playing around just 4 shapes. I don't know which is stronger at this point in the game, but I think I make a mistake, and now I know that it's probably better just to play another damage unit and keep the Wukong, because Wukong unit is fucking busted. Like, this board is definitely worse, I think. So I think I should just put in like a Cassiopeia or a backline unit and not play the Shapeshifters. I just saw like money in my head. I was like, oh, I can just make econ here. So I can make econ if I sell the Wukong, but I could have easily, I think, made econ anyways by selling some of the 1 costs. But it's fine. I think I would have lost this round anyways, but it's going to be very close. Like, the Wukong might have streaked me, and I think I should have held on to it a little bit longer, so that's a mistake I made for sure. It was this game that I really realized it, because a lot of times I feel like Wukong's more tanky than damage, but I forgot how good he is in stage 2 for actually dealing damage, because he has like a little bit of an AoE effect when he spins and all of that. So, you know, I kind of maybe tossed a little bit here that I don't get like my streak gold, but you know, it is what it is. We're still Precise Planning, so we're going to be rich for most of the game, so I'm kind of down for it. I think here's where I make another mistake. Okay, so what I think I should have just played around Cassiopeia. So recently, especially as of Wednesday, they recently buffed Incanters again. I think that the Shapeshifter Cassiopeia line is very strong, but here I think I just like my head doesn't go towards it, right? When I'm sitting, I don't think about playing Cassiopeia Shapeshifter Syndra unless I already have a Syndra early in the game. So because I didn't have a Syndra early, I'm not thinking about playing around the Cassiopeia. I did have the opportunity, because I was relatively first pick on Carousel, I have the items to make a Guinsoo. So I could have made a Guinsoo for Cassiopeia and then play Shapeshifters with Cassiopeia. If you're unfamiliar with what the board looks like, I can show that to you right in a second. I'll just build it for you guys real fast and I'll tab out and show it to you. But it is a very strong comp. It's just that I generally just don't really see myself playing it for late game a lot of the times, because it's just like it was a comp that has been bad for most of the set, and only within the last couple of patches has it really like come to shine as being really good. So it's just not in my muscle memory to consider it, so to speak. If you think about this is the board, and usually you go for 3-star Nico, 3-star Swain. If you have the money, you can go for 3-star Shyvana, 3-star Cassio, 3-star Syndra. And it's a variation of like Syndra reroll that's not Syndra with 7 Eldritch, and instead you play around Cassiopeia. And typically you want, like, I'm not sure the exact items on Cassiopeia. I've seen, like, typically, like, whenever you have, like, these auto attackers, Guinsoo, Gunblade is pretty good. And then Syndra, you just want, like, AP items and then tank items on the other ones. But this isn't the comp that I'm going for. I'm more thinking about playing Shapeshifters. Just vertical Shapeshifters. So you just go, like, and then you cap out with a fast 9 board and you go like this. Right, you play Briar and Smolder, and then you play 3 Dragon, Shapeshifters, and a Varus, and it's all really strong. You know, we'll see how it goes this game. I don't think this is a particularly great Shapeshifter spot. Now, I did lose that one round. I think I made myself weaker. Now that I slammed items, I should be stronger than most people, especially with the 4 Shapeshifters. My board definitely isn't weak, but I will lose a couple rounds here and there. I'm actually win this round, which is going to be kind of shocking. As long as I can kill this Warwick. But I don't think I have enough damage just to Jace 1. If I had Jace 2, definitely. But I feel the reason I'm inclined to maybe play more towards the Shapeshifters is just because, like, without much experience on the Syndra Cassio line, I think that you really need Syndra early to do most of the damage. I think Cassiopeia alone isn't good enough. It's like the sum of the parts. It's a very strong comp if you have a good Syndra spot and you also have a bunch of Cassiopeias with items for her. So I'm not leaning towards it generally. Instead, I'd rather just play towards like the fast 9 Shapeshifters. I don't think this is a good fast 9 spot. However, I am Nico paired, Swain paired. So you might see me roll a little bit aggressively in my mid game. Just because when you're paired on a bunch of units, like if you look at my bench, I'm Swain paired, Nico paired, Elise pair. Upgrading any of those can put you in a really, really damning spot for the lobby, right? Very, very powerful. If you have like a Nico 2 and you put items on her, or a Swain 2 and you put items on him, you just put yourself in an absolutely like god tier spot. Here I saw the Cassio. Like I said, I wasn't really angling myself towards it. The items I made are also really awkward. This is something I say a lot. Obviously, like, you know, when I like, do as I say, not as I do sometimes. When I was playing on stream here, it's just like these were the items that I got gifted to me. So these were the items that I made. Right now, I'm kind of playing in like a very 1st or 8th mentality. When you're playing the Shapeshifter line, what you always want to do is you want to build your items towards Shyvana items. For much of your mid game, for your stage 3 into your stage 4, Shyvana is going to be your main damage dealer and your main carry. So you really want to have like AP tank items to put on Shyvana, and that's like a key indicator of you being able to play this line. Eventually, you want to make AD items that would fit on Briar and Smolder. So for example, the Sterix and the Last Whisper that I have made. Those will be really good Briar items. The Last Whisper can be played on Smolder. So it's really good for later in the game. It's not good for right now, and that's the problem. And if you're playing one of these tempo comps where you have to fast 9, you have to be very strong early, right? Your augments have to accent that, your units have to accent that, because you need to build up a huge HP lead that you can use that HP to then sack later, so that you can make it to level 9 at a reasonable pace, and then be really strong there. Ascension is pretty good for this comp. I think I just wanted to do something for fun. I feel like my YouTube videos are a bit stale, so, you know, I took Artifact Ammo, which is obviously a gamble, and I wanted to try and do something a little bit more interesting and fun. Here, I think the best bet is just Death's Defiance with the items that I have. It just fits really nicely. Blading Jewel is also an option. I can play like some sort of Karma Flex board from this spot as well, because that really unlocks Karma's potential. Talisman of Ascension is something that I have played before with Shapeshifters. So before Shapeshifters were really strong and really meta, I had a really old YouTube video like earlier in the set that I played with Nasus with Talisman of Ascension. If you're somebody who watched that video, please make sure to comment below and say, I've been watching since I saw that video. It was really cool, or I didn't like it, or whatever. I just find it interesting if somebody was actually from one of those older videos and, you know, I've been watching me throughout the set, because then thank you so much for being around. That's really amazing. But either way, Talisman of Ascension works really well with Shapeshifters. Shapeshifters is a very stall-heavy comp. A lot of times when you're playing Shapeshifters, you usually just stall out as long as possible, and then at one point you cash out the Ascension, and because they scale off their HP, some of the units, their damage scales with that HP, so they do a shit ton of damage. So Shyvana, if you read her tooltip, much of her damage comes from how much HP she has. So the way Talisman of Ascension works is after 22 seconds, they will grow in size, they'll gain a shit ton of HP, and then once they have this massive amount of HP, they will then be really strong. Here I'm rolling a little bit. This is just to set up my game. Right now, I'm paired on pretty much everybody. Right, I have Swain pair, Nico pair, Shyvana pair. So I'm rolling a little bit to try and find a Shyvana, basically. I didn't find the Shyvana, which is really unfortunate, but if I have Shyvana 2, I pretty much streak the entire stage, because nobody will be able to kill the Shyvana before the Ascension procs if it's a Shyvana 2, and it's usually stable for much until the middle of the game. So Talisman of Ascension tech, usually Talisman of Ascension is really good with like certain like comps, like for example my opponent here who has Raid Boss Poppy, Talisman of Ascension would be really good on that unit because they wouldn't die for a very long time. Typically, it works really well on Shapeshifters. It works well on Nasus. Now, Nasus has been nerfed a little bit on his damage, so I'm not sure how confident I am that it works on Nasus in particular. But it's really, really good on Shyvana, because a lot of times Shyvana will just snipe the backline, and then if you stall out long enough when you play vertical Shapeshifters, they have a lot of HP, so they can stall out for damage. Then she'll ascend, and then her AoE damage that she has when you're playing multiple dragon is affected by Talisman of Ascension. So she'll just do way more damage in a AoE area. So it's actually insane. Now, obviously this was a for fun pick. The reason it's a for fun pick is because I'm not really going for Shyvana 3. So it's really good for my mid game, but it's not very good for my late game. Late game, I want to eventually transfer it onto a Briar, but it's a little bit awkward to do that until my Briar is really stable and reliable. Shyvana will probably out DPS the Briar a lot, just because the Talisman of Ascension, like if the Shyvana doesn't die, Shyvana scales off her HP. So Briar doesn't necessarily scale off her HP. So in some other comps, like for example, if you put like a Briar into like, I don't know, a Callista comp, which I'm sure there's going to be a couple Callista players in the lobby because there's a fairy player. Briar sometimes could just get deleted, even if she, like, you know, you want damage on Briar. And the Ascension, it does give damage, but I think it's a little bit better on like a unit like Shyvana, where if she snipes the backline, you kind of win for free, and if she lives long enough, then she does like AoE massive damage. It just fits a little bit better, and then I can move items and put like Briar items on Briar. But however, it's fine. We're trying to set up a fast 9. I rolled a little bit, so I kind of delayed my level 9. I was really rolling for Shyvana 2, but I was Nico paired, Swain paired, Elise paired, Shyvana paired. That's why I rolled a little bit. It's really important to understand that no matter what your strategy is, if you're trying to like level really early, or if you're trying to level really 8, or if you're playing reroll, like depending on what you're doing, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to really consider at the current moment what makes you strong. So a really key point in this game was that I rolled a little bit, like I rolled maybe like 10 gold on level 6 on 3-2. And the reason behind that is because I had so many unit pairs, right? Finding a single Nico 2, Swain 2, and Shyvana 2 especially, it sets me up so well for my late game that I save so much HP and so much gold from winning rounds that it's worth it to roll a little bit. Obviously, I didn't roll until I hit Shyvana 2. Sometimes, like, you know, depending on how high your HP is and what your exact strategy is, right? If I was just playing like a level 8 board, I would roll maybe even a little bit deeper because I'll still be able to make it to level 8 with a good amount of HP. But hitting any unit to try and stabilize around is really, really important in a lot of your mid games. It's also really important if you're trying to go for like a fast 9, fast 8, like if you're trying to play around a 4 cost or a 5 cost board, you really want to be stable in the mid game because a lot of other people are going to be re-rolling. Especially in this patch, the reroll players are going to spike extremely hard. They're going to have lots and lots of units, so even if you don't win rounds, having some upgrades is really essential in order for you to keep enough HP so that you're strong enough to actually realize and hit your board. Here I got absolutely deleted. This guy's Wukong 2, and he had Hunting Frenzy, so he had like the executes on my board. So I couldn't stall out as well as I could. I couldn't get like the the Shapeshifters to kind of do their thing and just like soak up damage. They just kind of died instantly. So it is what it is. But we're decent HP. Like I said, we're not the best. If I were to be honest with everybody here, watching the video, if you're watching the video, that's very high roll, by the way. I just hit a Nasus for free on level 6. Because now I don't have to worry about rolling out too hard on level 7 for 6 shape. But anyways, what I want you guys to know is that this game is very troll by me. I'm not necessarily playing for like a first placement. This was more for fun. It's just me trying to get some enjoyment out of the set before it's gone, because I'm pretty much only going to play a couple more games. Starting next week, I'm sure there's going to be details. This weekend is Worlds, if you don't know. And I think it's also the Arcane Season 2 premiere. I'm not really into that. Like, I haven't watched Arcane Season 1, or I'm not into League of Legends or League of Legends lore. So, you know, I'm sure lots of you are looking forward to that. But the main thing I'm looking forward to is that usually during Worlds, they do the first introductory videos that talk about the upcoming set. So when I looked at the, if you look at the schedule, we're going to learn about the units and the set 13 stuff this weekend. Because of that, a lot of my content starting next week is probably going to be around talking about like the early set 13, what's going on. It's not yet revealed exactly when the PBE is going to be for set 13, but as soon as that's released, it might be sometime next week. I'm going to immediately start playing on set 13 PBE, and all my content is going to be shifted towards the new set. That's just a decision I make because I just don't like this set. I feel like if it was a set that I really wanted to rank up and I felt really compelled to like keep grinding, I would. But basically, like, I've been on like, you know, semi-retirement for the past month or so because, like, you know, as much as maybe this is your favorite set ever, but like for me at least, it's like I hit Masters, and after that I was like, yeah, I don't see the point in me like studying lines and getting really particular on this set because I don't enjoy it enough to play offline. And that's like the big thing, because like, you know, if you're trying to get better at TFT and you're trying to make content around it like I am, like I'm streaming, and streaming is just a distraction in itself. If you want to actually like get better at TFT, you have to really like spend time outside of it to focus and like fix your problems and all of that stuff. And I was like, I don't want to commit that much time into it. Here I take Shapeshifter Crest. It gives me a Shyvana, and I can play 8 Shapeshifter. I already have I just need a Briar to play 8 Shapeshifter, so I just took it. Like I said, this is a for fun game. I'm trying to get Talisman of Ascension to proc. It's pretty good. Don't get me wrong, it is very strong to have Talisman of Ascension, but it's not necessarily like broken. It's just like pretty good. Like I said, the problem is that usually you play this line if you're playing Shyvana 3. Like, this is a really good setup if I had a Shyvana 3 and I was rerolling for Shyvana 3. But I'm doing the Fast 9 variation, so it's a little bit awkward to like itemize the units. The Shyvana is gonna fuck, by the way. Like, the Shyvana is gonna be really strong for this mid game. It's definitely viable as an option to Fast 9, but it's just like a much more risky option. You'll see that in some fights, if Shyvana dies too early, you get 0 value off Ascension, right? The idea of Ascension is that it takes time to proc, and in late game fights when boards are really powerful and everybody has items and people are like high level and have expensive units on their board, you run into a situation where Talisman doesn't proc. So a lot of my win con by me taking Shapeshifter Emblem and Talisman of Ascension is that I need this Shyvana to become Giga Shyvana. If Shyvana doesn't become Giga Shyvana, I'm losing every single fight. So this fight I win for free because I hit Talisman of Ascension, right? It procced. If it doesn't proc, I lose. That's just how that works. So you should always be cautious about that. As much as it seems like it seems like on paper would be good, you always have to understand that if my Shyvana dies before the Talisman procs, my whole board revolves around, right now at least, because my board is shit, right? All I have is a Shyvana 2, which is a 2-cost unit. I have a Nico 2, and I have no other units. Because I'm trying to play towards like going Fast 9, I'm just basically relying on this Ascension proc. Here I remove a Hunter because I don't really think Nomsy is too important in terms of the damage to get Hunter bonus in. Instead I put in Chrono. The reason I put in Chrono is because it gives a heal after 14 seconds. So I'm hoping that this heal will help me to cash out my Ascension, because if I Ascend, Shyvana does so much damage because she scales off her HP that I will just win the fight for free. So as you can see here, Shyvana goes towards the back line. She's away from this Warwick, which is great. And I should win now, right? Ascension procs right now. And now Shyvana does like an AoE damage that is going to be absolutely massive to everybody. See, so like all these other units, she can't get like dogpiled because they're all going to take some chip damage. His Warwick's trying his best, but he only has 2 items. And Shyvana's just going to clear. So it's really funny. It's really goofy to look at. Yes, it's a Shyvana 2. If it was a Shyvana 3, I would basically be going first. Like, that's like an Exodia situation. I understand that, but I didn't want to roll for Shyvana because, first of all, there wasn't many 2-cost rerollers, and I was also I was really scared about like rolling and not hitting. I already rolled a little bit of gold, and I didn't find the Shyvana upgrade that I wanted, so I didn't want to like grief my whole game by like trying to roll for Shyvana, never hitting and not stabilizing. Because when you push levels, you know, like Shyvana 2 is strong, Shyvana 3 is game winning, but Shyvana 2 with 6 Shapeshifter rather than 4 Shapeshifter, it's going to be massively more stable on stage 4, right? Like if right now I was level 6, didn't hit Shyvana 3, but I had Shyvana 2 still on my board, I would only be 4 Shapeshifter if I was still on level 6, because you wouldn't be able to fit in all the Shapeshifters and the damage and the dragon and all of that. So what would end up happening is my Shyvana overall would be much weaker. This stage 4 would go so much worse for me. But as you can see here, I get to save a lot of HP. I'm decently rich. I should be able to make it to level 9 next stage, and then I can roll for Briar, Smolder, and fix up my board. Like I said earlier in the video, just as a rehash, my board is awkwardly, like I have an awkward situation with my board right now. The main thing that I have, also this guy fucking annoys me, but I'll talk about it after. Look at this guy's board. He doesn't have a Rakan or a Callista, but his augments are so fucking good, and he has 7 fairy. I hate that they keep buffing it. You know, I won't talk about it. You'll see later. Does this guy look like he's in a spot to win the game? I want to ask you, because I don't want to spoiler, but I'm pretty sure this guy's gonna outplace me by the end of the game. He has a Zoe and a fucking thing, and he's 30 gold level 8. Like, this fucking Callista comp is so tilting. Like, look at his board. Does this guy look like he's in a good spot to win out? But guess what? He will be, because Callista's broken still, and it's just so tilting. Anyways, what I was gonna say is that one of the big things you always have to note, that if you're playing towards this line, always make good Shyvana items. Right now, my items aren't that great, right? My items aren't particularly great for Namzi. Gwinsu isn't even that good on Smolder, but it's like alright on him. And Last Whisper is like not that good for Shyvana, because Shyvana does AP damage. Right now, I'm not building items with the idea of making this Shyvana strong so that Shyvana is doing the most damage. Whenever you're playing this line, you should always start by prioritizing Shyvana items, and then after the items that you have remaining, you make Briar and Smolder items. That's how you make this comp a lot more stable in order to make it to level 9. I know some people might disagree and say, like, you know, you need Briar items, you need this, like, you make good Briar items, blah blah blah. When you're making these setups, you always want to make sure that you are strong in your mid game. So here, as you can see, I am most HP in the lobby. I'm in a decent spot. I do have to go to level 9. We'll see how that goes. Don't think I can go on 5-1, so I might have to sack 1 or 2 more rounds. So we'll see how it goes. I should use this remover, probably on Shyvana or Namzi. Yeah, Namzi is all red to use it on. So we'll see. I'm greeting my items a little bit. I'm trying to figure out which item I make next. I would ideally like to make another Shyvana item. Like, Warmogs is really good on Shyvana, and then like a Crown Guard or a Spark would be really nice. But we'll see what I'm able to make. But like I said, if you take Talisman of Ascension, this is a case where, like, I wasn't even like 8 Shapeshifter or anything. I was 6 Shapeshifter. I'm basically down an entire gold augment, and I was still able to win 4 out of the 5 rounds on stage 4. The only person I lost to was Wukong, because I didn't have enough damage to deal with the Wukong. But that's just like an important note that you should always consider to yourself. It's extremely powerful. It's extremely crazy how powerful Shyvana is still. She even got nerfed in some of the recent patches. But that's how you play this comp. You always want to itemize and stabilize around Shyvana, and then play your board like that. Here I don't hit like necessarily the best of Shyvana items, so I think I'm just gonna leave Shyvana with the Starex, because it's still like an HP item. I'm gonna re-itemize this Namzi, because I can always sell Namzi later. And then I don't have anti-heal. Oh no, I have Dragon. Sorry, I don't need anti-heal. I always make that mistake. I remember some guy was fucking roasting me that, like, how could you ever make this mistake? But it's like, you know, I have the knee-jerk reaction of playing multiple sets of TFT that if I don't see anti-heal, I don't like stop and think to myself, I need I don't need anti, like, you know what I mean? The knee-jerk reaction is I look at my board, I don't see Morello or fucking Sunfire, and I think to myself, oh, well, why don't I have that? You know, I don't think about the the traits first. I think about it the opposite way, because the traits don't really matter. Here you get a free 3-star 1 cost. I just take it. It's either going to be a lot of gold, right? So I either get like a bunch of extra gold, or I get a 1-star that I can use, because there's actually 3 of them. Jace, Elise, and Nomsy would all be good to hit. I want to see how much gold I had to roll here, by the way. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go back in the VOD a little bit. Here I'm playing Kalista, so of course I'm going to lose to Kalista that round. This guy, that's the reason why the other guy didn't hit, but this guy's augments are pretty shit. He took reinforcement. But yeah, I just don't have enough damage, right? My comp is a stall comp, and if I'm playing against a Kalista that ramps up with the Gwynsu, I need Briar and Smolder. This comp beats Briar and Smolder if I have Briar 2, Smolder 2, but I don't, so you know, we'll see. Okay, so I'm rolling around 30 gold. 40 gold, right? I'm 40 gold plus a bench. So I'm rolling 40 gold. Briar is the most important to hit right here, because I'll be most stable. Okay, nice. So I hit Briar. I just have to put in Jace over somebody. That's fine. I should put in a Hunter yeah, there we go. Perfect. So we restabilize our board. We need to find 1 Smolder. So I need to sell some bench units, and then I have to keep rolling until I find a Smolder. These items would be way better on a Smolder, and I'd be way more stable. Now that I'm 8 Shapeshifter, the Shyvana should be able to cash out Ascension equally as much. Like I said, we're just carrying this Shyvana too. Eventually, I want to transfer items over to Briar. Eventually, I want to have a Briar 2 with Talisman of Ascension once the Briar is strong enough. Here, because I'm kind of playing for fun, right? I said many times during this game that this is more of like a for fun game. I'm doing like, you know, trying to like push the boundaries of what is acceptable of me doing here. I already took Talisman of Ascension. I'm trying to play for like this cool comp win out for the YouTube video to make it more interesting. So I'm gonna start feeding the Briar now. Typically, you should always evaluate whether or not you should feed the Briar based on like the other people's boards and who you beat. I don't think I beat the Kalista boards unless I have Smolder 2 and Briar 2. So I run into the situation. Here I don't buy the Nomsy because I think I might sell Nomsy for Smolder. There we go. We finally hit Smolder. So I'm going to sell Nomsy. Actually, maybe I could just use 1 remover. Ooh, is this a mistake? I don't know if I should make Nomsy here or not. I don't think I should. The reason I don't want to make Nomsy is because I want to put better items on Smolder. But now I finally hit my board. This is stable now. I should be stable on stage 5, so I'm feeding the Briar, but the problem is I'm not going to beat any of these Kalista players. So this was the guy that had no fucking units. He's level 8, 7 fairy. He had no fucking pop. He was carrying a fucking Zoe for most of the game. But the problem is I don't have enough damage without Briar 2 and Smolder 2, right? My comp is very stall heavy. So I'm waiting to stall out so that my Talisman of Ascension procs. The problem is that this Kalista is ramping up a Gwynsu. So eventually she's going to out DPS the Shyvana anyways, because it's only a Shyvana 2. So if you look at this fight, my Shyvana ascended and it didn't die, and the Rakan didn't die. And the reason is because Kalista, with the augments that this guy has, he has Inspiring Epitaph, which gives attack speed, and he has Avenge the Fallen. So he's playing a stall comp with 2 of the best augments that he can hit. And what's happening is the Rakan is healing. Like my Shyvana is my main damage dealer, and she's doing damage over time. So the Rakan isn't taking any burst damage. The Rakan is just taking like a little bit of damage, a little bit of damage, a little bit of damage. And then because he has so much HP and the Kalista is ramping up, the Kalista is doing more damage, doing more damage, doing more damage. So the Kalista is actually keeping up with the damage that I'm doing, and the Rakan's fucking unkillable. So it's tilting in a way, because it's like I'm level 9. I have Talisman of Ascension, I procced Ascension, I still lose to Kalista Rakan, but I was always going to lose to Kalista Rakan. That's just the way it is. So here I'm going to start itemizing the Briar to try and get some damage on Briar. The problem is just that I don't have enough damage right now. I could put the Talisman of Ascension on Briar. The problem is it's only Briar 1, so I use my 1 remover to put the items on Briar, because right now I'm 20 HP. So, you know, if I take a really bad loss, I can lose. And I'm not sure exactly how stable my board is, because I just lost to 1 Kalista player, and I previously lost to the other Kalista player. So I'm already scared now that I'm probably going to go bot 4. I've been feeding this Briar up until now. I might feed her 1 or 2 more times, starting at the next stage. We'll see. But once I hit Briar 2, I'll feel a lot more comfortable with my damage output. And then I would want to put Talisman of Ascension on Briar. Because the problem with Briar is that she might just dive the backline and die. The Shyvana is going to be more tanky in a lot of the cases. Just because Shyvana is just built more to be a tank. And with 3 Dragon, Shyvana does a lot of damage. So Talisman of Ascension, Shyvana 2 with 3 Dragon, she's going to be like a good amount of damage. It's just I don't win against the Callista players. Because like I said, this is a stall comp, right? I'm trying to stall for Talisman of Ascension, and I'm stalling for Smolder, right? I built my whole board around, that's why I made Guinsoo for Smolder as well. It's not the best item on him, but I'm building this 8 Shapeshifter board to stall, right? The whole point is I stall to cash out Ascension, or I stall to have Smolder, Guinsoo ramp up so he does a shit ton of damage. I'm rolling really aggressively here because I have a Briar. Here's the Callista player again. This is the other Callista player, not the one with good augments, the one with shit augments. But I'm still going to lose to him, I guarantee it, because I just don't have damage, right? In a stall comp where I'm trying to stall, I need at least Smolder 2. If I had Smolder 2, I think I beat this guy. Briar 2, it's a toss-up. It depends where the Briar goes, but I don't think I can beat him. My Shyvana died before Ascension as well. Now my Briar is getting targeted. This Rakan just doesn't die, and it's just because I just don't have enough damage. It's also against Clone, by the way. And as you can see, I could have won this maybe with better positioning. I think my Shyvana getting targeted early was bad. But you know, that's what I mean by this type of situation isn't Exodia, right? If I had Shyvana 3 and she lived, maybe I beat him, but that's his clone, right? That's not even his like real. That's his clone, right? Usually the clones are significantly weaker because there's a bunch of clone bugs. And that fight was already like close and going bad, right? If I had Briar 2, of course Briar 2 will be really good for me, but the chances are this is just going to be a 4th off HP. And it's just because of the Callista players, right? I try my best, but you know, I think if my mid game high rolled a little bit harder, like if I had a Shyvana earlier, I rolled a little bit of gold, so I didn't have that much gold to roll on level 9. I rolled 40 gold on my initial roll down, which is quite substantial for a fast 9. Like that's pretty good. But you only expect to find like 1 or 2 copies of everything. I didn't hit the Smolder 2, and I'm not even Smolder pair. Briar 2 now is great. Here's the only thing. I think I should yeah, I think I just do this. I'm just very defeated, I think. Right? With Briar 2 now, I should move the Talisman of Ascension onto Briar. But I think I just gave up. Because, okay, so the reason I didn't move the Talisman of Ascension is because I would have to sell Shyvana. So I would lose Shyvana, get Shyvana 1, just to move Talisman of Ascension on Briar. Instead, I just made full damage Briar. There's a little bit of passive healing from Shapeshifter, and also the Briar has so much HP that the Briar is going to be fine. So against these guys, I'm pretty sure I'm fine. This kind of sucks, though. If you look at this guy's board, I didn't scout properly, or I didn't see it. He has a fucking Innervating Locket on his Poppy. He has Raid Boss, Innervating Locket, Poppy. So you know, this guy high rolled because I don't even know how he got it. I think he got it from Charm because he does like it's a fucking it's an artifact. So I don't have Smolder 2. I do not have enough damage to chew through this Poppy. It's just infinite, right? Infinite armor, infinite like healing, and we just go 4th, which just sucks. Maybe it was a feed Briar diff. I think if I didn't feed Briar as much, I might have been able to get a 3rd here. But like I said, I was more so playing for like the fun of it and trying to do like an interesting comp type of situation. So, you know, we end up with a 4th, and that's fine. But anyways, I made some notes here, like when I was talking, to explain like where you spike with the board. Here, it was mostly just me kind of giving up, because I kind of said like, yeah, I'm probably losing to Callista anyways. But this turn, you should probably sell Shyvana, moves Talisman of Ascension onto Briar if you hit Briar 2. Because if I had a Briar 2 that ascended, I might have won that other fight, right? If you watch this fight, we'll watch it again real fast, right? Even though it's Innervating Locket, Poppy that's unkillable, if you look at my board, my Briar does live for a very long time. Because Briar 2, and I fed the Briar like 3 or 4 times. I think I fed her a total of 5 times this game. I'm not entirely sure though. So this Briar is alive, right? Right now, Talisman of Ascension would proc. So right now would be Talisman of Ascension. The Briar would get Giga juiced and she'd have Giga HP. We'd be fine, right? Like Briar, I would win this fight. So this is a not selling Shyvana diff. So never hold on to your units too hard. You always have to understand, even though I've been talking up this Shyvana with Dragon, if she's Shyvana 2, she will fall off eventually. Even with 8 Shapeshifters, she was good to get me to this point in the game. But right here, I sell Shyvana, Talisman of Ascension on Briar, because I had 1 remover, right? Because I only have 1 remover. Right here, Deathblade, Starex, Talisman of Ascension. Done. I would have won that fight. And if I win that fight, I go at least 3rd. Now, there is a chance I can cheese and win beat the Callista players and go 1st. But it basically comes down to this fight. Now, I just felt very defeated because, you know, for me playing the game, I'm just so sick of losing every fucking time to Callista because it happens so much. So I just see 2 Callistas. I think Callista in this lobby went number 1 and number 2 or something like that. Like they both outplaced me, right? So I think that's why I was just very defeated. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to beat the Callista player anyway, so who cares? I'll just get my 4th and get out because the other guy was going to die for sure. But you know what I mean? Just stay focused, right? If you're in a spot like this and you have a Briar 2 that's been fed, the Briar will outlive everybody. Talisman Ascension on Briar, 8 Shapeshifter, and it would have gone nuts. I should have done it because it would have been nice for the YouTube video. I'm sorry about that, everybody. But it is what it is. Hopefully I gave you some interesting advice, and if you see Talisman of Ascension, you're playing towards a Shapeshifter line, it is very good, and it works on pretty much all the units. Nasus, Shyvana, and Briar, all of them can hold it really well, so you can play around any of those 3 for your mid game, depending on who you hit, and you can carry Shyvana all the way to your late game like I showed here, and, you know, just make sure, like, at one point you have to move it onto the Briar. You know, for me, I just didn't do it because I was like, whatever, who cares, like, the game's over. But you know, if you're actually playing for placement, you're trying to grind LP and you want to get like your highest number possible, like that's what matters to you, move it at the end, right before those last fights. It will always be better, trust me. All right, thank you and see you around. Have a great day, and yeah, bye bye.